There is an ongoing debate about the actual birth year of Pierre Toussaint. Some, including Carey, believe he was born in 1766. Others believe he was born in 1781, but there are also those who believe it was even later. Considering the fact that it is difficult to pinpoint his birth year, given that they did not really keep records for slaves, we can just go on and say that he was born in 1766. Pierre Toussaint was born in Saint-Domingue, a French colony which is in present-day Haiti. He was born into slavery on the Arbonite Valley plantation owned by the Burrard family. As a child, he grew up playing with the Burrard children, and it is assumed that the family taught him how to read and write. His family, consisting of his younger sister Rosalie, his mother, and his grandmother, also lived on the plantation. In 1787, after years of political unrest, the Haitian Revolution broke out. Jean-Jacques Burrard, the oldest Burrard son, set off to New York, bringing his wife, Pierre, and Pierre's sister Rosalie with him.
3 weeks later.
After 3 weeks and 1,500 miles, they arrived in New York. Not long after their arrival, Jean-Jacques Burrard returned to Saint-Domingue on business, but sadly passed away. This left Pierre to take care of Mrs. Burrard and the other slaves. Having become a prosperous hairdresser, Pierre was saving money and was able to help Mrs. Burrard with payments that she herself could not handle. Mrs. Burrard remarried, but Pierre continued to help out with whatever was needed. On July 2, 1807, on her deathbed, Mrs. Burrard granted Pierre his freedom. Even after being granted his freedom, Pierre stayed in the home with Mrs. Burrard's widow for 4 more years. Pierre continued to be a hairdresser, and in 1811 he purchased both his sister Rosalie and his wife-to-be Juliette Noel's freedom. That same year, both Pierre and Rosalie got married. Years later, Rosalie passed away, and Pierre and Juliette adopted her daughter Euphemie and raised her like their own. Pierre continued his charitable actions throughout the rest of his life by donating to many organizations, including the Catholic Orphan Asylum, and attending to those who were sick. He and his wife Juliette would also take in several homeless African American children and help them get ahead in life. There were a couple prominent events in Toussaint's life. One took place in 1842 when he was denied entrance to St. Patrick's Cathedral, which he had donated money to during its construction, and coincidentally is where he is buried. Another and most important one was the passing of his niece Euphemie in 1829. She died at the age of 14 from tuberculosis. Euphemie and Pierre were inseparable, and her loss left him devastated. During a 60-year period of living in New York, Pierre always attended morning mass at St. Peter's Church, which was the first Catholic church in New York. He even became depressed towards the end of his life when he was too weak to go to Mass. Pierre Toussaint passed away on June 30, 1853, and was buried in the St. Patrick's Cathedral churchyard next to his wife and niece who had passed before him. Pierre was well known for his piety and charity, which was showed through his actions and the crowd of attendants at his funeral. In 1990, he was suggested for canonization by New York City's Cardinal John O'Connor, and in 1997, Pope John Paul II declared him venerable, which is the first step towards canonization.